Hello there. Welcome to the episode number 11 of Depth's Wall. Today we have a really special guest. He describes himself as an Agilist with more than 10 years in the IT industry and with the last 6 years approximately involved with Agile methodologies. In his last years, he has been focused more in the banking and financial area because it's not always about the technical side, but it's also about the guys that make things work and make things happen in the software area. I'm really happy to have and want to welcome Julio Ruiz. How are you?
Hello, Hector. Thank you so much for this introduction. I am really appreciate to be here with you, trying to share something, a little bit of the knowledge that I have with your audience, and well, I hope to enjoy that and also share some ideas, some really controversial statements about agility or whatever that involves agility.
Well, let's see how it goes. I already gave a quick introduction about yourself. So today we're not going to talk about the technical stuff ish. We're going to talk a little bit. Well, it could be something technical also, but we're going to talk more about the things involving agile methodologies and and more with a specific with the Scrum, right? I mean, me as the more in the side of a developer, have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
you're used to it, right?
I can imagine that. I know that everybody in this world always ask about what is this, right? Or why we are implementing this. So something like is really necessary to have a Scrum Master in our team. So yeah, I know.
Is
Don't
this
worry. Let's
necessary?
talk about that. And yeah, I don't know if can just get started just a little bit on the mention that you just said that I was involved or I'm involving right now in a fintech industry.
Nice,
Uh,
nice. Before going that, sorry to
okay.
interrupt you, Julio. I wanna know how did you start on this? How did you get involved
Hmm.
in the tech industry, software or IT industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I was studying the engineering software degree in the college. So in that moment, I was thinking about to control the world through the different programs that we just developed in that time, right? So I just get involved on that. Also in other a master degree, I just get a master degree diploma. So from that moment to the current moments that I'm doing right now to the current works or jobs that I just perform, I have been involved in different stages of the on the development cycle, right? I don't know if you are aware of that, but I just started as a developer. I have knowledge as a developer. I was programming in PHP, .NET, Java, and I have experience. So I think that is a good point for me because after that, after many stages on the software, I just get involved and involved in other areas, and at the end, I'm doing I was interested in the agile side. So I was asking myself, why are other different other ways to do software, right? So in that sense, I just start earning on this world.
All right, so you are actually a guy with a technical background.
That's correct.
Let's see. So you started, and how was that turnaround? How was that change from the really cool world of developing software? Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes I can use sarcasm or whatever just to
that's cool. That's cool.
point things out. It's not really the truth, but uh, how did you? I mean, first of all, how many years were you on the technical side, and how was that change to more and on the maybe I would say not management
Mhm,
side
mhm.
or the Scrum Master side, or how was that?
Yeah, that's really very interesting. As in 2008, around 2008, I just started working in a small, very small companies, right? So as a small company, maybe you are not focused on have a specific roles for each part of the development, right? So in small companies, or when I start working on that in small companies, I just did a lot of things: testing, programming, kind of analysis, a kind of a little management, etc. Right. So in that moment, I just start trying to test a little bit of each area, and at the end, when you develop, when you are working in all areas, I think that you can get more context about that, and you can find out whatever that is your passion, right? In my case, I just prefer to work with people. I mean, uh, in this work, you obviously need to work with people instead of working with in a front of a computer all the time, just coding, right? So I I I I I discovered that my skills are more related to soft skills, related to how to lead people, how to manage people, and how to manage a process, because this is different ways or different things that are involved in the software development process. So in that way, I just was jumping in different areas, and at the end, I just discovered that being in this area is, for me, is great. I love to work in this.
Nice, nice. It's cool the way you say that you needed or you noticed that you were good with the soft skills, but you work with a lot of people that are not good with that.
That's right, and this is the main challenge. This is the main challenge here. The software is not a mechanical process. I mean,
Mhm.
um software is like a handcraft work, right? It's artisanal work. So all the parts related to the process development is all about persons, right? So it doesn't matter if you have the enough soft skills of the enough hard skills. You need to combine. You need to work in a teamwork way, right? In that way, uh, you figured out that you need someone else just to try uh, just to try to be in this part in between the dev, the product, the business, and other areas that are involved, right? So you need someone, you need a mechanism to relate all those areas, and in that way, in that sense, I just I just discovered my opportunity, right? So there are a lot of things, and basically, this is the way that I see this role, right?
Nice. Yes, as you said, as of now, we still have to work with people in software. There is a lot of automation going on, but there's a lot
Mm.
of people also still.
Yeah, I
So
guess.
soft skills are really important.
Yeah, and yeah, right now technology is growing a lot, but at the end, the human component is gonna be always there, right?
Correct. I do agree. Really cool. Now let's go to the specific topic. First of all, we're gonna start with agile. What's the deal? Because at the beginning, you describe yourself, or you are an agilist. What is
Mhm.
that? I don't know if I had heard that before. Are you
Yeah,
like a,
yeah.
a sports person or something? Or
Sports on agile, right?
yeah,
Something like that. Yeah, an agilist is a person that is really involved in agile practices. And the topic for today is not about agile; it's about just one small piece of agile, that is Scrum, right? But I want to get an agile because I guess that your audience is already or was already working or is currently working in projects that are called agile, right? But agile is a mindset. I want to mention this because we have the error that Agile is a method, no? And maybe some guys they say, okay, Scrum is the only method, but the Scrum is not a method as well. Scrum is a framework, right? Scrum is a framework that is in under the Agile of umbrella Agile. So mention that the mindset is very important because mindset is gonna drive or is gonna drive drive your team through implement different frameworks, right? That the implementation of different frameworks depends of the nature of your teams, the nature of the problem, the nature of the business, etc. So an agilist is a person that are involved in the agile umbrella that knows different agile frameworks.
Nice. So basically, you're saying you're an expert on Agile. So you know different frameworks of Agile, and you might be able to implement them on your
I,
in your teams.
I wish to be a expert. Actually, as you know, everything changed.
Yeah.
So in this world, in the tech world, everything changes constantly, but the principles stays. So I will say that I'm an expert on the principles, and I'm flexible to adapt the principles for each situation.
Nice. Now we're still talking about Agile. What's the deal with waterfall? Do you think waterfall still exists, or do you think, because I have a conception, or I have an idea that waterfall is everywhere? We just now split it and called it Agile. Is that
Hey,
true, or what's the deal? Because a lot of people are complaining, oh, but this company uses this really old methodology, waterfall, and blah blah blah. And I just think,
yeah,
is it a really, are companies not using waterfall, or is it just an idea, a misconception?
yeah, I can tell you that waterfall exists because this right now there are many ground implementations. That's why waterfall exists in the current days. And why I'm saying that most of the misunderstanding things about Agile on these specific things about Scrum is that we used to implement Scrum in different or waterfall stage, right? What I mean, for example, let's work on the design, let's work on the prototyping, let's work on the development, let's work on the testing, and at the end we have the increment, or we have the small piece of software, right? This is a common mistake between all the teams and between all the organizations. Why I'm saying that? Because you need to participate in all the phases, uh, design, development, testing, at the same time. And what I'm trying to say here is because maybe there is a big functionality, but the big functionality is going to be developed in small pieces, and that small piece involves different areas, right? So it's better to implement small pieces of software with all the different areas or different steps that involve the development, and at the end deliver the correct thing. So, and that's why I'm telling you that currently waterfall exists because there are ground implementations of agile mindset or uh, agile frameworks.
But okay, what would be, for example, what would be the difference in just saying, okay, we have to deliver this in 1 year or
Mhm.
6 months? I don't know. This is what the final product might look like, and I can just say, okay, we want to work with Agile, Scrum, whatever. I'll split the work in 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and we're using Agile. But at the end, we're kind of in a waterfall. What is the difference, and why is that wrong, or what would that be wrong, or
Yeah,
what would a common scenario on Agile be?
yeah, sure. Do you remember why waterfall uh, brings a lot of problems? It's very very simple, right? When waterfall was the guide for develop software, waterfall was just developed in stages, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know, maybe you start with the analysis, and I don't know, in a project of 6 months, let's say 6 months, analysis consume 3 months, right?
Yeah,
And
let's say 2 months.
two
Yeah.
months, 2 months.
Mhm.
But if there is changes on the original requirements, it's gonna be other month because the new changes, right? And you
Mhm.
never finish the stage of analysis, right? So
Mhm.
this is the main difference, because what happened instead of dedicate 3 months on analysis, you dedicate 2 weeks just to analyze, develop, and test, right? And
Correct.
at the end, you are delivering some small piece of software. And the difference is here, because that small piece of software, you can get validations from stakeholders, final customers,
Mhm.
and you can make a decision on continue with the original statement that you have, or maybe do a change, because obviously your customer, your stakeholders is saying, is providing feedback to you, right? That's the main difference.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So yeah, normally it's not a good idea to spend so much time. I mean,
Mhm.
you might know. I mean, in any projects, in actual projects, you might know what your final product could look like, or the general. It obviously will change over time, right?
That's
But
correct. And
that's correct. But at least you won't spend a lot of time analyzing the whole thing. You might It might be a better idea to break it, and then maybe in the first iteration, just focus on that small piece that you want to deliver, that has more value, more importance, or you just want to deliver first. And instead of analyzing 2 months, you might analyze 2 3 days and do
yeah,
your stuff
with a specific goal,
with a
right?
specific thing.
Yeah, because this is the main key of this mindset, right? Inspect what you are doing right now, get feedback, and adapt.
Mhm.
So this is the mindset that you need to be aware always, right? Because what happens if you don't receive feedback? You suppose that your product is good, your product is satisfying your customer needs, and at the end results that not, right? So that's the main thing here on the agile frameworks and with this agile mindset.
All right, so there's more time. I mean, you spend or you wasted less time in case something goes wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
You focus more on the valuable things.
Yeah, and this is a good point, because on these frameworks, you need to identify value, right? You need to identify value, because at the end, the value is gonna be the main part of the software increment that you are uh, delivering. And maybe you will ask, okay, but what is value, right? It's a kind of ambiguous thing, right? But you can define value according to your business, right? Maybe if your business is, I don't know, related to provide loans to your customers, the value is going to be reflected on trying to increase that uh, loan functionality to your customer, right? Depends on the nature of the business, but you need to be always focused on trying to deliver that small thing that helps to fix to fix some problem of your customers or your business.
Nice, nice. I think the general idea is pretty clear for me at least. Now let's go to that specific framework. I mean, I
Mhm.
think maybe it's the most common one, which is Scrum in Agile. Uh, I would say, well, in my experience, most or many teams in this industry, in the software industry, use Scrum, or at least they say they use Scrum, right?
Yeah.
But what's the deal with Scrum? I mean, I have been involved in, and I have been involved in many projects, and all of them say they use Scrum, but some of them we just have the daily meeting and that's it. And some others we have so many meetings, and I I end the day with headache and like I think it's too much meetings sometimes. So
Yeah,
what's really the deal with Scrum?
yeah, that's really good to point out this, because Scrum is not the daily meeting. I mean,
I know.
Scrum is a framework. I was telling you, there are many frameworks under the umbrella, under the Agile umbrella, but Scrum is just one of them, right? But what is Scrum? In other words, Scrum is a toolbox, right? Let's use that example. If you have a problem, I don't know, maybe you need to fix something in your house, right? But you have a lot of tools, and you need a specific tool, I don't know, just to fix the problem with the TV, right? You need to clean it internally, but you need something, you need a tool to do that job. But in Scrum, or in the problems that the company or teams face, there are a lot of problems that you cannot use the same tool, right? So you need to go to the toolbox, sorry, and take other tool. That is Scrum. Scrum is a framework. A framework means a toolbox that you can take whatever you need to fix a specific problem, right? And I think most of the companies, most of the teams, uh, sometimes misunderstand this, because things that daily is gonna fix some specific problem, and it could be that not. Maybe you need a other tool to fix that problem about communication, right, or synchronization. So I can tell you that the Scrum is that just a toolbox, but as a team, you define how to use that toolbox in a general words.
All right, but isn't there like special guidelines
That's
on
correct.
or best practices? Because I know at least all the teams do the daily stand up. I haven't been in a team that doesn't do a daily stand. So at least I know all teams do that. But is there like a or something that you would recommend as a best practices or guideline of how to use Scrum on software projects, or is it dependent on something? Is it dependent on the type of project, the size of the team, or
Yeah,
what can you say?
yeah, I can tell you that. Yeah, there is a guide, and actually there is a Scrum guide that is just a guide, right? Is not a recipe. I mean, as you are mentioning, okay, many teams at least perform the daily standard, right? And some teams uh, plan the sprint work. Some teams uh, perform a retrospective at the end of the sprint. But this is a recipe. I mean, the guy says, okay, you need to consider this as a guide, not as a mandatory, in this case, ceremonies, right? And why? Because obviously, software development again is just a empiric process. I mean, you cannot do a mandatory implementation of whatever framework, whatever methodology, because the change is there is a constant change in the development software, right? And you need to be constantly adapting everything, the process, the tools, the people as well, in order to achieve a specific goal. And yeah, for in a short answer, yeah, there is a guide, there is a document, but this is just a guide, not a recipe. And we are going to talk about more deeply about that. And let's talk about these specific points, right? You are right now talking about ceremonies, right? And one of the most popular ceremonies is the stand-up meeting. But what is the goal of that? Who needs to be there? Why I just spend 15 minutes and no more? right? So I think
I
this is
wish it was 15 minutes and not more.
yeah, everybody wish that it's just 15 minutes and that's it, right? And let's start our conversation here with the Scrum ceremonies. Daily stand-up. Daily stand-up is for developers and in order to sync, right? To sync the job that they are doing in a daily basis, right? But what is or why some teams thinks the daily Scrum doesn't work? It's easy. As I'm telling you right now, there are many components. One of the main components here is people, right? People is the most challenge challenges component during the implementation of whatever framework. Uh, First, most people think that daily stand-up is a status meeting. That is ground. I mean, it's not a status meeting. A status meeting for who? For the Scrum Master? I don't think so. For the stakeholder? I don't think so. For the product owner? I don't. Obviously, no. The it's not a status meeting. It's just a synchronization meeting for developers, and the goal of the session is that think about the work that you are going to do, or the work that you are doing right now, and say, okay, I'm facing this problem. I really need help from whatever, and please help. This is the correct moment to raise your hand and ask for help, right? It's not a status meeting. It's different. You see the difference? I mean, it's not the same that the task 143 is in progress. This is a status, right? Instead of, okay, I'm working on develop this specific functionality to enable users to log in, but I'm stuck on the database part. So I need help from other person. It's different, right? Because you contextualize the problem and you're saying that you have a problem and you're saying that you need help. This is the main difference, right? Um, I don't know, what do you think, but most of the teams are with not or doesn't have that mindset in when they are performing this kind of ceremony, right? Why? Because obviously most of the people thinks that it's just a status, and that is not the status. It's just synchronization. There are a lot of components. Other component that I just remember is who needs to be there. In your opinion, who needs to be in the daily meeting?
Not me. No, I don't know.
Not
No,
the
just
developer,
joking.
right?
No, but I don't know. I mean, I used to know the Scrum guide as well, but I'm not sure now. But I understand the whole team in terms of the stakeholders. Obviously, the technical team, developers, QA, obviously the Scrum Master. Uh, if you have something like a product owner, should be there.
So, what do you think if I tell you that for daily stand up, you don't need a Scrum Master?
I would say perfect.
Yeah,
It's nothing. It's
yeah.
nothing. It's nothing personal. Huh?
No, no, no. I'm totally agree with you. It's better to.
But I agree on what you're saying, that it's not like a status meeting. It's just like a sync. But for example, let's say that I'm working on a story and I have no blockers. I'm working as expected. Everything as what then? What's my update? What's my purpose in the daily stand up?
Yeah, this is a really good question because the meeting focuses on what are you doing right now to
Mm-hmm.
achieve the sprint goal, right? And this is
Okay.
other thing, right? So i- if the sprint goal was set correctly, you are you are focused on the things to achieve that goal, right? And what happened if maybe you are working in a specific user story that is not related to that uh, goal, because some stakeholder ask you directly to say, hey, Hector, please, I have this as a urgent because I don't know something, right? Please take it. And during the during the sprint you are working perfectly, you are working without blockers, but you are working in something that is not related to the sprint goal, right? So this is the idea, just to say the work that you are doing right now to achieve the sprint goal, right? Maybe you are working in something that is without blockers, but if it's not related to the sprint goal, this is the opportunity to mention, and we can figure it out what is the priority of that work, right? So that's why it's important to communicate what are you doing right now, or what are you doing for accomplish the sprint goal. Because if, as you know, right, in we used to work in a consultancy work that the stakeholders say, "Hey, this is urgent, please take it." So what happens if you don't mention that? At the end, you cannot achieve the sprint goal, right? So that's why it's important.
Correct. I mean, in that case, it will be important to mention, because if some that's that's a common scenario, that some stakeholder, let's say project management or whoever, maybe contacts you and say, "Hey, please help me with this report," or, "Please help me with this bug that
Hmm.
is bothering, and we need to. It's really urgent." And obviously, it's never part of the sprint,
Hmm.
right? Or either you need to mention, because it might take you the whole day, or it will take you some hours of work.
Hmm.
Or I don't know, what's your recommendation on that? In my experience, I face it really, not every sprint, but it's really common to have that. Okay, I'm focusing on that, and then some guy comes and say, "Okay, we have this bug. Please look into it, because it's a production bug." And I
Yeah,
will say, I cannot say no, because obviously it's important, but
because it's the customer, right? Because
it's,
it's the
yeah, because
stakeholder.
the stakeholder and the users, the final users, whoever it is, are facing the issues, and I need to resolve it. And without, normally, you, without asking questions, you just do it.
Yeah.
But then how I proceed is just do it. Maybe later on, once it's resolved, or once time passes, I might ask for a story for it, and correct story points, just to and adapt, because that will take priority, I guess, and adjust. I mean, I guess this bug fixing takes priority, and some other story might be left out. But
Yeah. My,
I don't
my
know how.
recommendation, my recommendation to
Mm.
you and to all your audience, if you're facing that, keep it simple. That's it. What I mean, uh, in the previous scenario, when you are not having blockers and just to you continue working on the task that you have. That's it. I'm not having blockers. I'm just continuing with that. And in the other scenario is that stakeholders ask you directly, keep it simple as well. Hey, I cannot take it because I have this priority, right? If you want, or because if you want it because this is urgent, okay, let's negotiate, right? Let's talk about the priority, but it's not on me. Priority are set by product, right? Because it's supposed that you are developing a product and there is a specific role to track the progress of the product. That is the product owner in this case for Scrum, right? Um, you can raise your hand and say, okay, stakeholder, please, let's have a conversation with my product owner, with me, with you, just in order to explain what or why is this urgent, and let's negotiate, right? Because obviously, this is part of the mindset. Agile is open to change and embrace the change in Agile. I mean, if you already plan for something, and maybe something is surging because you're gonna lost, I don't know, thousands of users. Obviously you need to look for that because the users are the main part of your business, right? So it's as keep it as simple, just trying to say, please, let's talk. That's it. And this is the main problems of a lot of teams, because as you mentioned, maybe it's urgent, is the stakeholder, is the customer, is the person that pays your salary, and you cannot say no, right? It's supposed that you cannot say no, but yes, you can say no. You can say no at the moment, and you can propose to negotiate with other persons in order to know the correct priority.
Maybe it's the way on how you say no, right?
Exactly.
There are different kinds of developers. Let's say because it's common on the developer side that people ask you different things
Hmm.
at the moment, and everything is urgent. And some developers get frustrated. Okay, why is this changing so much? I'm not. I mean, sometimes I get frustrated, and I'm don't. I mean, I don't think I'm that guy who if you change it something I get frustrated. Simply I just basically I will do what it's needed to be done
Yeah,
in a practical way. Okay, if this is urgent, I'll do urgent. We later I'll just as a side note I'll just let you know that this will take me time. Some other stories might go away, and that's it. Because at the end I will be working. We're just working this amount of hours per day or per week, and whatever could be achieved will be achieved. And if we establish different priorities, then I'm okay.
yeah. And let me tell you something. Actually, we're talking about the Scrum, right?
Yeah.
So Scrum includes different roles, right? There is a Scrum Master role, the Product Owner role, and the development team, right? All together is a Scrum team. So when when that happens, you need to generate an agreement uh, with the Scrum team. That's the main thing here, right? And that's maybe the reasons that sometimes Scrum doesn't work because you forget about about the team, and you think in a personal way because, as you mentioned, this is the customer, this is blah blah, blah, right? So, but the idea of a Scrum is just to get general agreements with all the Scrum team, right? And as I tell you, if something is really a priority, let's take it. Let's move out something from the current sprint, and let's take it. It doesn't matter because we are just helping to the business, right? So, but previous to that, you need to get an agreement about to do that, right? And this is the main idea of the agile mindset: transparency. There are a lot of there are some specific companies. I don't want to get in a deep concepts, but there are a lot of there are some important concepts. Transparency, right? We need to be transparent as a team as well. Hey, this stakeholder is asking for something, and I'm really frustrated because I'm stuck on this specific functionality, and I'm having a lot of bugs, internal bugs, and I'm frustrated. So I raise my hand and say, okay, please, product owner, scrum master, help me to check the priority. That's it. And you continue focus on the things that you have. So it sounds like a very simple, but it's sometimes it's very difficult because you work with people, right? And most of the people prefer to not say anything and just take it, right? I recommend to don't do that because obviously you get frustrated at the end, right?
Yeah, I understand. I have faced those situations that with frustration, but maybe yeah, I would agree. The important part at the end, I guess, it's communication in this part.
In
As you can communicate any via with a meeting or just with a Slack message or whatever, just stating what's the deal, what's the blocker, what's the situation, and that's it. It's
Yeah,
nothing forced, nothing. Just we need to be clear every time, right?
yeah, that's correct.
What do you think about the different roles in Scrum? Talking specifically about Scrum, because we have like the Scrum Master, the Product Owner, the development team, some other stakeholders, and I have been in several teams with really different. I mean, they all
Mhm.
say they follow Scrum. Sometimes, well, yeah, we do have Scrum Master, Product Owner, blah blah blah. Sometimes product the Scrum Master is like a project manager slash Scrum Master slash business analyst slash QA
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
What's the deal with that? I mean, how what is your recommendation, or what, and why does these things happen,
Yeah,
and
this is
how to avoid them?
Yeah, good, really, really good question because uh, we need to know that those roles were specified because we really need to implement the framework, right? And as you mentioned, okay, every company implements Scrum in a different ways. I don't know, maybe you have the project manager slash Scrum master slash business analyst, right? But we need we don't need we need to focus on the main goal of that role. For example, the Scrum master role. What is the focus of the Scrum master role? It's just one thing or many things. First, be involved with the team. Why? Because you need to know how to help the team to improve themselves. I'm not talking about just removing blockers, setting up meetings, because most of the people say that Scrum Master is just for setting up meetings and ask about progress, right? There is a joke there related to that. But there is a specific function that the Scrum Master needs to follow up, help to the team to improve according to the guide that was defined or is defined right now, right? So if you have a Scrum Master that is a people manager, let's say people manager, because right now project manager is like a people manager. You cannot generate the correct environment to help your team to improve, right? Because you are the boss, right? Obviously, if you're working with a team and you are the manager of some people of that team, obviously you will have persons that always be agree with you. Why? Because you are the boss, right? And this is not the correct scenario. So avoid that. If you are in a team with the Scrum Master slash project manager that also is your boss, say this is not the Scrum Master role, right? And raise your hand. If the company says, okay, this is the way that we are trying to implement the Scrum, this is not the correct way, because obviously you need to say, okay, I cannot get the confidence to talk in an open way with my boss, right? Because he's my boss. I mean, obviously there are feedback loop sessions with your boss in order to improve, but this is personal, right? But what happened in a team environment, right? You need to get the confidence about that. So this is for the Scrum Master role. The product owner role. What the product owner role needs to do in a team? In the scenario that we were talking about, is just setting priority, right? The product owner needs to provide you the correct priority about the things that you need to do in order to achieve the sprint goal. But this is not only a priority. We need to get some specifications, right? We need to get some business understanding, right? You need to get some, let's say, clarifications about the goals that we are trying to achieve, right? Most of the misunderstandings about the product owner role is as well that the product owner needs to write down, needs to put a sticky note about the job that developers need to do. And this is not the correct way to do that. Why? Because the product owner, and obviously includes in the Scrum team, everybody is co-owner of the product backlog of the backlog, right? It's not a fully percent, a 100% responsibility of the product owner to create the backlog. All together needs to be aligned to create the backlog. Obviously, the product owner has the knowledge of the business and can recommend or can provide you the business rules that you need in order to develop the product, right? The Scrum team or the development team that is part of the Scrum team. Development team is not just a developers. It's not just QAs. It's not, I don't know, right now there is a UX person, business analyst. It's all. You need to combine all the skills that you need to develop your product in a just one single team. Obviously, as a Scrum Master as well, we participate in the development process. How? We suggest something because obviously we have some experience to say, okay, I have faced this. Maybe I don't know. Let's talk about a specific example. Let's implement a feature flag. If something happens, we just turn off the feature flag, and that's it. This is a good practice, right? So a Scrum Master can do that. Recommend something that already works because previous experience demonstrate that works, right? Um, and as you were asking about why sometimes Scrum Master do a lot of things, because it's preferred to have a cross-functional team. What is a cross-functional team? A cross-functional team means that you can do some of the work using a small piece, right? Obviously, in order to generate that increment of the product that you are doing right now, right? Scrum Master can test, yeah, obviously can test something, right? Cannot be a specific unit testing or automation testing, but as a Scrum Master, you are part of the Scrum team, and all the Scrum team is focused in deliver something. And you cannot say, okay, I'm a Scrum Master, I'm just setting up the meetings and that's it. No, that is ground. You can help to test, obviously in a general way. You can help to validate. You can help a lot with the team, right? It's not just specific for setting up and asking about the progress. And as well, the dev team maybe is obviously 100% focus on the development side, because they are the experts on the Java technology, the whatever technology. But it doesn't an impediment to generate a unit testing and automated testing to deliver with a better quality their job, right? That's why we need to generate a cross-functional team, and this is the main concept of the participating as a Scrum team at with the different roles that I just mentioned: product owner, Scrum Master, and development team.
Okay, so it's not really a bad practice to like do several stuff.
No, it's not a bad practice, but you need to know the limits, right? The boundaries of the things that you are doing. I mean, what in a bad example that was a real life example that I was in other company, says, okay, you Scrum Master, we don't have the product owner here, and you need to approve the product. Okay, I can check the product. I can check accomplish the requirements that we specify, but I cannot talk by business, right? I know the business. I know that we are just helping the business, but I'm not the correct person, right? I'm not the correct person to approve the things that you just mentioned right now, because it's not part of the responsibilities, right? So yeah, you can support, but obviously you need to be aware of your boundaries.
Nice, nice, really nice. Because I mean, I've been involved in teams where I'm not sure who's the Scrum Master, or well, I know like who's kind of project manager or leads the meetings, but that same person asks me for some bug fixing. It's kind of a mixed roles between like product owner and slash Scrum Master slash. I mean, the same person facing the client and the same person driving the meetings.
Yeah,
And
that's
maybe
why.
maybe we need to know the boundaries, as you say.
Yeah, that's correct, because in the guide specifies their role and their responsibilities, right?
Yeah,
There are specific responsibilities for each role. So if you are not taking those responsibilities, you are doing something wrong, right? As I tell you, is not the Scrum Master is not the person that can approve the increment of the product, right? So you need to help to achieve the increment, but the team that includes the product owner needs to approve the increment, right?
na- correct. A specific quick question: how are the? I mean, we have the backlog there. I mean,
Mhm.
we're not gonna get into specific things about Scrum, we just talking general things and assuming most of the people are familiar
Hmm.
with Agile and Scrum. Uh, but when you define, for example, the stories and the story points and all that stuff, what's the correct way to define this? Is it like the development team? Is it everyone gathered in a meeting?
Yeah, that's a good question because, as I told you, product backlog is generated by product and by team. I mean, and how is the correct way to do that? Um, First of all, uh, and that's why are important the roles. The product role needs to establish the vision of the product. The needs to establish the hypothesis, right? What is the problem that we are trying to fix? What is the value proposition that we want to our customers, right? And I know that in many companies, and you and me know that a lot of things happen during that definition, right? Because maybe that definition is in upper management and never comes up to the dev team, right? So the correct way is to involve the team in all those conversations, from setting the vision, from setting the problem statement, setting the value proposition, and is the correct way. Why? Because in that way you can involve the team to generate the different ideas to propose a solution, right? The business sometimes is thinking on some solution, but you don't know if that solution is going to be possible, right? Because there are a lot of technical stuff to accomplish and that kind of stuff. And that's why it's very important to, since the beginning, you involve the team. And you maybe will say, Julia, but that increases the number of meetings and I just spend a lot of time on meetings and for me it doesn't work. Right, yeah, maybe you're right, but what happens if as a product, as a scrum master, as a team, you receive a user story that says develop the user login, and that's it. And maybe you will ask, okay,
And two story points.
two story points, right? And maybe you will say, okay, I will develop the login, and after that, what? Should I integrate
Mhm.
with something? Should I develop the login as a component to reutilize the component in other interfaces? How you don't have context, and it's very common, right? That you need to get context. You need to get context about the problem. You need to get context about the vision. You need to get context about the value proposition for your final customers, right? I- and this is the correct way to create a backlog. All the Scrum team together, analyze those specific points, and propose the possible solution, right? And one important thing here, uh, product backlog is a component that is alive always during the all the process. Product backlog is always alive. And why is alive? In most of the companies, the change is a variable, right? Maybe you are doing this some functionality right now, but in 1 month you need to change everything just to adapt to the market, because the market changed, right? That's why it's important to involve all the team from since the beginning, to be aware of those changes as well. Because if not, you're going to be having just one person to define the story points, sorry, the user story with the story points, that this is a common situation. And at the end, you are just working because you receive a payment, and that's it. But you are not interested on the solution for the real problem of your customers.
Correct. I'll have to agree with you. I mean, you have been convincing me and more on these methodologies and how they should be implemented and how everything should work seamlessly. But it's not always the case. But
Yeah.
anyway, uh, what would be like a recommendation or some points that you will some simple recommendations given your experience in several projects regarding Agile and Scrum to like for success? I mean, in this is in your experience, and this can be subjective because this is
Mhm.
just in your experience. What would you recommend to like reach deadlines and not have a burned out team complaining and all that stuff that you know? What would be like some simple points that you will give the
Yeah,
listeners? Yeah.
in my experience, it's all about mindset. Uh, Mindset is the base of these Agile frameworks, right? And what includes this mindset? First of all, be open to your teammates, coworkers, boss as well, if you want to include stakeholders. Be totally open, be transparent with them. And if you have to say no, right? Because this is maybe the most common error in consultancy. I can say it's consultancy because this is the most common error in the consultancy part. You cannot say no because it's the customer, right? Because it's the persons or it's the client that is paying your salary. But no, if you have that approach, please run away. Yeah, it's my advice to you is run away, or at least try to say, okay, this is not the correct. Let's try something else, right? Um, you can say, I know something because I heard from Julio, from other guys, that this is not the correct way, or at least we are not doing the correct we are not doing the correct way. Let's try. Let's experiment on this mindset in these new ways to do the things, and let's try it. If it's not working, okay, let's try other thing. But let's find out together, because this is important, together the way that we can improve our performance, or improve the way that we just develop things, right? So that's it. Be open, be totally transparent, embrace the change. I mean, I know that it's frustrated for developers to say, oh, forget about that, the work that you are doing, and take this. Okay, I will take it, but why? Yeah, maybe you can propose other solution to this problem. But if you don't raise your hand, if you don't ask why, it's gonna be as same as usual, right? So transparency, be open, uh, freedom to say no is the key, and communication, always communication with all the person that are involved in the software process, stakeholders as well, VPs as well. Everything needs to be involved. Everyone needs to be involved.
Nice, nice. You heard it from Julio. Say no or run away. Just focus on
Yeah. Before to run away,
it. Say
please,
no
please,
or run
please
away.
propose something, right?
Yeah. Well, jokes aside, I think it was really interesting. All your words. This was a really interesting conversation. Really valuable words that you have said. I think whoever listens to this or watches this will have a. I hope they achieve to start having a different mindset, as you say, the agile mindset. I mean, previous episode we talked about QA mindset. Now we're talking about agile mindset. It's just about the mindsets, guys.
Yeah, that's
It's
correct.
just
Maybe it could be difficult to understand. Okay, why a
no,
mindset, right?
yeah,
But as you mentioned at the beginning, we are just talking in a general way. So if your audience asks for more details, we can talk with more detail about the specific events or ceremonies in Scrum, specific roles, specific artifacts, whatever, right? So, but yeah, let's keep it in a general way right now. And I hope that at the end, Hector, I changed my mind, right? About to Scrum doesn't work because something, right? And I hope your audience is gonna be in the same channel, right? If they are saying that the Scrum doesn't work, okay, first of all, ask to yourself why. why it's not working. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm just interpreting the guiding other way. So should I write? Should I look for help? That's the answer is yes, right? So ask to your team, to coworkers, ask to your product owner, ask to your manager as well. Okay, can we change something because this is not working? So let's try other thing.
Great, great. I totally. I mean, I'm on the same boat now, and I hope everyone, any person, whoever watches this, starts having a better idea about Agile and Scrum, and I'm pretty sure they will. And it was a great conversation, Julio, and I really appreciate your time and all your knowledge sharing. It's really valuable for me, and I hope for the audience as well, for whoever watches this.
Yeah, Hector, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate to talk with you, talk about these topics. I really enjoy talking about that. And please don't hesitate to reach me if we want to continue this conversation, right? Maybe we can ask uh, more awkward questions about, okay, the Scrum Master just says or just asking for a status, why, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We will have. I mean, I'm just thinking about different dynamics that we can have to make it more interesting. But yeah, it was really cool words from you, and thank you so much again. We will definitely we will continue this conversation. There's so much to talk about here.
Yeah, a lot of
Thank
things.
you. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
again, Julio, and thanks for everyone who watched or who watched till here or watch any part of this video. Thank you so much for being part of this. I appreciate it. All right. See you next time. Take care.
Thank you, Hector. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.